Andy, the saddest thing about betrayal is that it never comes from your enemies. It comes from those who you trust the most. And tonight, the island of relevancy has a population of one, as Roman Reigns is by himself on the road to WrestleMania, but Seth Rollins is trying to cast a couple extra people to that island of relevancy. We're going to talk all about what happened on Monday Night Raw, Friday Night SmackDown. Welcome to Squared Circle Radio. That's the Young Buck, my tag team partner, Mr. Andy York. My name is Chris Belcher. Thank you for being with us. Andy, less than 2 weeks from the show of shows, and the build just continues to heat up each and every week.
Yeah, it does. We keep unveiling new chapters, and just keep moving forward and keep heading towards WrestleMania, and every week something different. Every show really something either adds to it or makes for interesting choices, I think is a safe way to put it. So yeah, there's a lot to talk about. There's going to be a lot to talk about. I can't believe next week is the go home for WrestleMania. Like, it's crazy that we're already here.
Yeah, it definitely, it's crazy. We are covering a whole lot of ground tonight, obviously, and then next week, you guys know, if you've hung around with us for a while, we do lots of extra content through WrestleMania week. So if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe so that you get an alert each and every time that we go live or we post new content. Going to be brand new stuff every day next week, so we'll go through that towards the end of the show. Let's not waste any more time, though, Andy. Let's get to the favor. You saw it on the thumbnail. You saw it in the description of the show. The contract was signed a couple of weeks ago. And in that contract, Andy, Roman Reigns, he was all giddy when he said, "Hey, wise man, just point out this section for him. We got Punk's main event for him." And Punk said, "That's not the favor." And then it was revealed this past Friday that the favor is in fact what we all speculated it was, and that is Paul Heyman accompanying not Roman Reigns, but CM Punk to the main event of WrestleMania. The catch is, Andy, is I think we all, and we'll dive into this, I think we all sort of speculated that it was something that everybody knew and we just had to wait for it to be revealed. No, the fun part of all this is Paul Heyman didn't know what the favor was. And Andy, that put an interesting little twist to this whole thing.
Yeah. And, this is a favor that I don't think when we were, talking about what the favor is, I don't think this was in anybody's mind that this was the favor. I think we all kind of thought it was, for a title or, something against Roman Reigns, something like that. But in the video package tonight, when they played the clip from 2013, when Paul Heyman and with a rat tail and Punk were in the ring talking back and forth, they're bringing stuff up that makes sense, and it adds even more to the story. It's weird, but I love it at the same time that the night one WrestleMania main event is all about Paul Heyman.
Yes.
It's all about Paul Heyman. They're all, even to an extent, even Seth, which I'm sure we'll talk about here in a little bit, but even Seth, it's all about Paul Heyman. It's all either for Paul Heyman or against him or whatever the case is. So I never would have thought that WrestleMania main events would be about Paul Heyman, but I love that they are because I am a Paul Heyman guy. So I'm all for it. But yeah, the favor aspect of it was just not what I think people thought it was, but I think it's the best outcome for the favor.
You should have been wearing your Paul Heyman guy t-shirt tonight. What are you doing? What
are
you doing? You have to wear it night one of WrestleMania.
Oh, I will.
I expect you to be wearing that shirt when you come over and we watch WrestleMania. Yeah, Sam Roberts speculated that this was the favor for a while. And so he's been on that train. I think a couple people have been on that train. I didn't think it was a good idea for that to be the favor, simply because, and I think this is where Heyman not knowing what the favor comes into play. I didn't want Heyman to accompany Punk as the favor, because as them planting the seeds for so long, it didn't make any sense because they didn't know they would be in this position. So why would that be the favor that both Punk and Heyman knew? Turns out they did know it. but it was truly Punk cashing in a favor. Just, hey, I can get anything I want. Here's what I want, Paul.
Yeah.
So I think that little twist makes it settle a little bit better for me. But at the same time, I it's one of those things where you have to still let it play out. We still have 2 weeks until WrestleMania. So letting it play out. And then tonight, we saw it play out very, very interestingly when Seth Rollins hit the ring and he tells Paul Heyman, hey, CM Punk doesn't like you. Roman Reigns is just using you. I can take you out of this thing right now. Try and threatening Heyman. Here comes Punk. Rollins intentionally misses the stomp. And Andy, I don't think any of us saw this coming at the end of the show. Rollins intentionally misses the stomp. And he tells Paul Heyman, now you owe me a favor. Talk about storytelling.
Yeah. And after this segment, I'm kind of sitting back watching it, and I'm thinking to myself, I think Seth's good. Like, as of right now, we talked about a couple weeks ago who's going to win this.
Yep.
Right now, I'm leaning towards Seth. Like, I'm leaning towards Seth Rollins getting a massive win at WrestleMania. It's something we've talked about. Seth needs a big win. Obviously, this would be about as big of a win as he could get. Yep. But this added a whole lot to it. And I love the entire segment between Seth and Paul of Paul just kind of sitting there taking it. And then towards the end, like standing up and telling him, like, I'm not letting you do this to me, which then brought out Punk and they, brawled all over the place. So yeah, I don't know if, I think Seth saying this makes it too obvious at WrestleMania now for Paul to align himself with Seth. It seems like the most obvious choice now, which necessarily isn't a bad thing, which is still a possibility. But maybe it's more to set up something down the line between Seth and Roman than anything else.
Yes.
But it does. That's the thing about this triple threat that I'm starting to realize as we're going through it is, yes, I think singles matches, I still would have preferred singles matches, but this is setting up for the rest of the year. Like, match the rest of the year between Seth and Punk and, Punk and Roman and Seth and Roman, and where's Paul Heyman in the middle of all this? So there's a lot of options. There's a lot of places that this is still heading in. Yep. But they did a fantastic job. They've done a fantastic job since they've announced this match of just making it make sense and building the hype each and every week for it.
And as Triple H said when he was asked about WrestleMania main events a long time ago, he's going to put the best match or the best story at the main event. And this is clearly, I would almost push it above Cena and Cody as the best story for WrestleMania right now. So lots of different ways we can go here. You said that you think Seth is in the driver's seat right now. Hold that thought, because I do have a prediction type question towards the end of this segment. But before, you mentioned not being on the bandwagon of this triple threat, wanting the singles matches. And as you've seen this play out, you realize that it's setting up, like you said, for the rest of the year. It's interesting because we have speculated Seth and Heyman and what that could look like. Sam Roberts brought it up on his podcast today, and he said, I just don't know what the dots are that you connect to get them together. He said, it would be interesting, but you've got to give me a reason for it to be interesting. And we don't have that yet. Even after what we saw tonight, I still don't exactly think that we have that. But Andy, we speculated after SmackDown, at least I did. I wondered because it seemed like Seth was the fourth wheel on SmackDown because it was all about Heyman, Roman, and Punk. And you see on your YouTube screen right there, if you're watching, Seth's just laughing, soaking it in, having a ball. Well, tonight he made it about, yes, we're making it about Heyman, but he truly inserted himself into this to, again, further the Punk and Rollins story, to further the Roman Seth story without Roman even being there. Roman's going to be there next week on the go home before WrestleMania. So I'm anxious to see how yet again, and we don't know what's going to happen on SmackDown yet. So I'm anxious to see what layers of this onion they keep peeling back over the next 12 days or so.
Yeah, I'm curious to see that as well, because again, I think there's still so much story we can tell, even with 3 shows before WrestleMania. So I think there's still a lot they can tell. We need another interaction between all 4, which will probably be the SmackDown before, I would assume.
Yep.
And then I think we need a promo between Punk and Rollins, just like one-on-one between those 2 guys. And I think we need one between Roman and Paul. Like, I think that those are the steps that we can take. And then I expect SmackDown to end with a massive pull-apart brawl between all 3 of them, just trying to get at each other, because why not at that point? But yeah, like, there's so many layers and there's so many directions. And one of the things that you mentioned is trying to connect the dots and trying to make things matter. Like, I honestly, if they made this for a number 1 contender spot at the same time, I think you kind of get that. I think you add more stakes to this match and connect the dots of, these are the 3 outside of Cody and Cena who are already wrestling each other. These are the 3 biggest names in the company.
Yep.
Roman, Rollins, and Punk.
Yep.
Yes, them wrestling is probably enough, but if you add that number 1 contender spot to it, then that makes the Paul Heyman aspect even more interesting, because now he is, whoever he decides to go out with, he is now like the puppet master, like Karen Cross is trying to be, controlling everything and controlling the outcome. So I think there are ways that they can add even more intrigue to this and make it even more interesting. But at this point, they've sold me on it, and it all makes sense.
Yep, I completely agree. I'm here for it. I can't wait. So we mentioned next week it's the go home. So next week, not sure exactly what date yet, we're gonna drop our prediction shows for WrestleMania. So we'll split up night 1 and night 2, or at least the matches we know that are confirmed. We'll split those up. But regardless, next week is all about feelings and predictions and making those. So I'm not going to ask you to predict, even though you said Seth's in the driver's seat. Not going to make a prediction. This week is still about analysis. So if you're looking at each of these scenarios of what the future holds for Punk, for Rollins, for Roman, and of course for how Paul Heyman ties into all this, if you're looking at each of these scenarios, who do you think truly benefits from winning this match?
Honestly, I think the person that benefits the most is Seth, because he gets the win over Punk, and Punk's only so far a WrestleMania main event, so he can hold that over him. Yep. And then he can always still look at Roman and say, you can't beat me. Like, you can't get over me. I'm the one guy that you just cannot beat, which then I think sets up for, I know this is we're long-term booking because we love it, sets up for a Roman Seth at WrestleMania 42. Because please, before both of these guys' careers is over, we have to have a one-on-one between these 2. It's ridiculous at this point we haven't gotten that, to be real honest with you. We need a one-on-one at WrestleMania between these 2 guys. But I think this kind of sets up for that. I think whether Paul leaves with Seth or not, I think Seth Rollins benefits the most, because he can use this win to his advantage over Punk and over Roman.
Yep. Plus, to add to that, Seth needs a big win. He went 0-2 last year's WrestleMania, and
without a knee, basically.
Without a knee, yeah. He needs this win. Plus, he can then, like you said, if we're going Seth Roman, he can then hold this over his head, be like, look, buddy, WrestleMania 31, I screwed you out of the title. WrestleMania 40, screwed you out of the title. WrestleMania 41, I beat you in the main event. The
Rumble a couple years ago, you had to cheat. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. So he
Money in the Bank when he beat him. Like, there's so many instances that Seth can use this in.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think, by the way, If you're joining us live, thank you so much for that. Drop your comments, drop your questions. We will get to those as they come in as best we can. My brother Bryce is in the chat. I see your comment about Jey Uso and Gunther. We are getting to that. Let's wrap this one up, and then we are getting there. I promise. All right. I'm gonna lay this out. This is just the way that I see it. I think you're right. I think Seth Rollins benefits the most from winning this match. I don't think CM Punk needs this win. I know it's his first WrestleMania back. I know it's his first ever main event, but I don't think he needs the win in this match simply because, Andy, I don't think the stakes are high enough for Punk to win because the world championship picture on Raw is so wide open that Punk can lose this match in the Raw after WrestleMania, go face to face with whoever wins the championship, and nobody's going to think twice about it.
Yeah.
Like that's just going to set up that next match. He's right there. He doesn't need this win.
Yeah.
The case that I'll make for Roman Reigns is this. Jared and I speculated on the podcast last week that it seems like Roman Reigns is drifting back into old tribal chief mode. He's got the Ula follow back. He wants everyone to acknowledge him. I did this. I did that. He's got that cockiness back to him. And he thinks, that everybody's beneath him as he's shown the last couple of weeks. So if Roman wins this match without Paul Heyman by his side, then he can say, Paul, I don't need you. Usos, I don't need you. Seth Rollins, I certainly don't need you. I'm the OTC. I'm the dominant one. I make all this happen, and I just beat the two best that anybody can throw at me without any help. Because when was the last time Roman Reigns has won a big-time WrestleMania match without help? So, exactly. You can't even think about it.
35 against Drew?
I think he actually beat Brock technically clean at 38.
And he stacked and pinned Danielson and Edge.
But he had Uso help that night.
Oh, yeah, he did. I forgot about that.
Uso help
He did beat Brock clean. He did beat Brock clean.
But regardless, you get my point.
Yeah.
Like, if Roman stands tall without Heyman, then he goes on a tear later this year. Now, him beating these two guys doesn't further the story with these two guys. It's just, I'm done with you. I beat you. I'm done. Yeah. I'm going to go get my title back now. So that sets Roman up for a good spot. But I think you hit the nail on the head. I think Seth is the most beneficial here.
Yeah, and I agree about Roman, but I think that's the reason why he, more than anybody in this match, has to lose. Like, I think he's the guy that should not win this match the most right now because, this is the first time he's by himself in a long time, and I like the idea of him realizing, yes, I'm the tribal chief, and it goes back to what Cody said at WrestleMania before WrestleMania 39.
Yep.
He's no longer got the tribe. He's no longer got the title. He's lost his wise man.
Yep.
What is Roman Reigns right now? And I think him losing this match, losing back-to-back WrestleManias, will really put him in an interesting position for the rest of the year to work his way back up. Plus, are we really going to have Roman Reigns and John Cena both be a heel at the same time? That's a very important question I think we kind of have to look at and answer. But I agree about the Punk situation, too, that Punk, right now, the stakes aren't high enough for Punk to win. Now, if they add like a number one contendership to this, then I think Punk should win it, especially, and this is me marking out, which is fine, especially if Cena wins it. Because if we run back Punk versus Cena at Money in the Bank for the title, it's just
right.
It's too easy not to book. Like, that's something that we need to do at some point if we're heading that way. But I agree. I think just looking at it from, a 40,000-foot view, Seth is the one that benefits the most from it right now. Now, Friday, that could all change. Right. Monday, that could all change. Yep. But looking at it right now, I think Seth is the one.
Yep. I completely agree with you. All right. Again, we appreciate you guys being tuned in live. Let me get to this comment from my brother Bryce here before we go any further. Who is hyped up for Jay and Gunther? Loved that promo tonight. Of course, he is talking about the no colors, all black Jay Uso coming down, not even yeeting, coming to the ring. And if you guys missed last week, of course, you missed what we're talking about to set up this version of Jay Uso, which is this vicious, bloody beatdown that Gunther handed out to his brother Jimmy. Of course, that's what he was talking about in the promo tonight. Andy, you weren't with us on the show last week. We have been begging for something like this to happen in this feud. We got the beatdown. We got a passionate promo from Jay tonight. What are your thoughts now?
Finally. Like that's been my thoughts the last couple of weeks is finally like that. What they did last week not only benefited this match and not only benefited Jay, but it reminded us who Gunther is. Like it reminded us of how much of a killer Gunther can be. And so I loved what they did last week. I love that Jay was so mad and was calling Jimmy by his real name. And I don't know if Jimmy bladed or if that was a packet, but he was covered in blood. And Gunther was covered in Jimmy's blood as well. Like the whole visual of last week was just perfect. I liked what they did this week, but I think this week made Gunther look it brought him back down a little bit, in my opinion, from where he was last week. And I get that's kind of the point because Jay was letting him know, I'm not afraid of you anymore. Like what you did last week has unlocked something in me. And I like that version of Jay. But I think in order for this, if Jay is going to win at WrestleMania, we need Gunther to be
a killer,
the worst human being we've ever seen in our life. Like he needs to be at the top of the top like he was last week. Which is why I wouldn't be against like go home next week. I know we've got enough Gunther beatdowns, but if he like bloodies Jay like he did Jimmy, like we get a version of Gunther that just absolutely tears through Jay. You build that baby face up again. You build Jay as, he's got a concussion or he's, whatever. The doctors tell him he shouldn't really compete at WrestleMania, but he's going to push through and do this because he has to. I think that's a great way to build this thing back up. But they have saved this match from where they were like 3 weeks ago to where they are now. They have done a fantastic job. And that's probably like the difficulty with the Rumble is you're so far out from WrestleMania that you have to like slow burn things. But the last 3 weeks they have ramped it up.
Yeah, they really have. I think it would be interesting. Maybe he beats down Jay next week. I think since we're probably going to keep Jimmy off of TV until WrestleMania, which it's what I would do. Yeah. But I could see a scenario where Sami Zayn returns and Gunther just annihilates Sami, Jay's other best friend, just like he did Jimmy, to maybe be like, okay, Jay, okay, you're back, whatever. Look what I can do this quick. And then he takes out Sami, because I agree. Like they pushed Gunther back quite a bit this week. I think I almost caught myself saying that Jay should have done this promo in like a package or something, but no, you needed it in front of the fans. Yeah. You needed the fans to rally back behind him. But at the same time, like you said, it really set Gunther back a little bit. Maybe what I would have done is Jay turns around to leave and Gunther just blindsides him, maybe hits him one time and just leaves him laying instead of a beatdown like we've gotten.
Yeah. Or just have Gunther say anything, like literally just kind of say anything at all. I like the Sami Zayn aspect, but it would be wild if next week Rikishi comes out to try to talk some sense into Gunther, and we get a nice Rikishi beatdown. I think that would be right because he never showed up for any of the Bloodline stuff, so why would he show up for this? But yeah, I think they have to do something next week to put Gunther back to where he was. I kind of wish last week's angle would have been the go home angle. Because I think it would have been. I think that would have. I know Jimmy wouldn't have been out for as long, but I still think it would have had the same impact, or probably even more impact heading into WrestleMania.
True. Yeah, true. I agree with that. Lots of ways they could go with it over the next two shows. I don't assume they'll do anything on SmackDown, so we really only have one show left to build this. So we'll see. Haven't had a contract signing for this match yet. You could have a contract signing and just kind of see what happens there. I'll be interested to see what happens. All right. One thing that I failed to do at the beginning of the show, ladies and gentlemen, is shout out our wonderful partners at SportsWire Radio. I couldn't tell you everything there is about SportsWire, but I know a man who can. Let's hear from the Reverend Tom Bryce.
Looking for all the latest happenings in the world of sports and wrestling? Well, you're in luck because SportsWire Radio has you covered 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and 365 days a year. With great shows in the world of sports, such as the Pinstripe Chronicles, hosted by Uncle Tats, Donald Stewart, and Rob Barrows. New York Baseball Talk with Chris Bazaya and Rob Maraska. The Liftoff Jets, also hosted by Chris Bazaya and Sharman Phillip. Neil Villapiano and the Devil's State of Mind. Randy Dillon's Hockey Fan Chat. In the world of wrestling, SportsWire Radio has you covered with Squared Circle Radio, featuring Chris Belcher, Andy York, and Jared Justice. Those sit-down marks with DB, Primo, AJ, and Michael. A work in progress, featuring the Mayor of Canton, Piles, and Glenn Abbott. You can catch all of these great shows and more anytime, anywhere, and any place via the Listen Live button on SportsWireRadio.org, and you can also catch SportsWire Radio anytime on YouTube at SportsWire Radio 6579 to catch all the latest happenings in the world of wrestling. SportsWire Radio has you covered. It's all sports matters and all wrestling matters here on SportsWire Radio. I am your host, the owner of SportsWire Radio, the #1 global radio station, the owner of the Promo Wrestling Federation, and one of the owners of the Pride Wrestling Federation. Your voice, figuratively and literally, where all wrestling matters, the Reverend Tom Bryce.
All right. Appreciate that guy very much. Appreciate all of you who are tuned in, whether you're watching live, whether you're watching on the replay. Drop those comments, drop those questions. We will take those and respond to those as we get them. We appreciate that so much. Again, if you're not subscribed to the channel, it's free. Doesn't cost you a thing. Helps us a ton. Not going to sign you up for an email list or anything, but we would appreciate that so very much. Andy, a slew of other WrestleMania matches were confirmed. And let me just say this. It's about time. Like, I know that WrestleMania is 2 weeks, 12 days away or whatever, but we are finally getting some matches confirmed. I would say that that has probably been one of the reasons ticket sales has been down. Another, because they're just astronomical this year. Yeah, Nonetheless, we have several matches. We're just going to run through a couple of them real quick, give you a quick thought. Then we got a couple of other things to dive into pretty deep here. First thing is this Intercontinental Championship Fatal 4-Way match. The defending champion Braun Breaker against Finn Balor, Dominic Mysterio, and Penta. So Penta gets his WrestleMania debut for a championship. I'm not asking you to make a prediction, but it's definitely a way for Braun Breaker to lose the match and not get pinned and drop the belt.
Yeah, which I'm leaning towards that happening. And honestly, as we're sitting here right now, we always have a lock of the weekend. My lock is coming out of this match. I think this one is almost a no-brainer of who wins. So I'm looking forward to it.
Well, if tonight's beatdown was any indication, Finn Balor stood tall at the end, but won't be seeing Carlito at WrestleMania because Braun Breaker just annihilated him.
That dude's spear. I may get, I don't know, stuff thrown at me for this. The greatest spear of all time is Braun Breaker's spear. I don't know if there's any, Goldberg's spear, WCW Goldberg spear was like top level.
Sure.
This reminds me a lot of that because this dude just throws his body at like 30 miles an hour at people. I like the iShow Speed one at the Rumble that was just, it was brutal.
Oh, yeah. You can tell that that's who Braun Breaker patterned his spear after was Goldberg.
Yes.
You can tell that. Yeah. You can tell that for sure. All right. Another match that we have long speculated. I'm not sure, still not sure of the direction of how we got here or why we had to do the things we did to get us here. But Andy, it is official, as Adam Pearce says, for the Women's World Championship. Io Sky defends against Bianca Belair and Rhea Ripley in a triple threat match. Unlike the CM Punk, Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns triple threat match that I have been so eloquently sold on over the last couple weeks, this one I feel no different than I did 2 months ago or whatever it was when Io Sky won the championship. I don't feel any different.
Yeah. I don't really feel that much different either. I'm not against it. I think it's going to be a fantastic match.
Sure.
I think it's going to be, awesome. But how we got to the triple threat doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. It's just we kind of have gotten here. But I think this is WrestleMania. Part of this WrestleMania is about building new stars, and I think a match like this potentially could do that in a lot of ways, building up all three ladies. And it's weird to me. I thought the European crowd would be different, because of everything else. But Bianca got booed tonight too, so like I don't really know what direction they're going to head with her. It seems like she may turn heel at some point. It seems like the fans want heel, but
I was gonna say, if you've noticed, ever since the Elimination Chamber where she wore all white, what has she worn every single show? All black, every show, with the exception obviously of last week because she had to wear a referee shirt, but still, all black every show. So it's a telltale sign, I think. Speaking, her counterpart over on SmackDown, Jade Cargill and Naomi finally made official. I was worried about this Naomi heel character, so to speak. I still hate that she has her normal music. I always think when you change from babyface to heel, you should have different music. It doesn't fit.
Cena's told us we don't deserve anything.
Okay, that's true. Fair.
We deserve nothing, so it's fine. Nothing changes.
That's fine. But what have you thought about this Jade Naomi thing? They've done a great job, obviously, of keeping Bianca separate from it. Obviously, the worlds have to come together at some point, though.
Yeah, I've loved what they've done with it so far. I'm glad that they're doing this at WrestleMania because I think both ladies have done a fantastic job post Elimination Chamber of building this up. I thought Naomi's promo a couple weeks ago was fantastic. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. She's done a really good job of selling this. And what I really enjoyed the most was when Aldis announced that this was happening at WrestleMania. Obviously, Jade Cargill smiled, but there was a smile across Naomi's face too, like she got what she wanted too, which I really appreciate that. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this. I think this was probably going to be the shortest match of the night. I think it's going to be pretty quick. To be real honest with you, but I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be great.
First women's match since I think I'm going to butcher this stat, but I'm going to try to remember it. First women's match since WrestleMania 19. That's either first women's singles match not for a title or first women's match not for a title since WrestleMania 19. I read that stat the other day. I know I'm butchering it right now, but it's some historic event in this match since WrestleMania 19. So,
I mean, I can't think of a modern one.
Right.
Like just a match that's not got a title in it.
Right. So it's either singles match without a title or just women's match in general without a title. I don't remember exactly.
It's crazy.
Unless you count, they probably did like a lingerie match or something at like WrestleMania 21 or something. So I don't think so either. All right. Also on the Monday Night Raw side, a match that I know that you and I are very much looking forward to. At least I know I am. Not put words in your mouth, but I think you're excited for this. AJ Styles and Logan Paul in a WrestleMania match. Woo, Andy, I'm excited for this one.
Yeah, this is going to be a good one. This could. I always hesitate to say this about AJ at WrestleMania. This could be a show stealer. I said that a lot about him at WrestleMania, and none of them have stolen the show.
Wait, let me stop you right there before I forget. So I'm scrolling through Facebook the other day, right? And I see that you're drinking out of a WrestleMania 38 cup. So WrestleMania 38, the anniversary of that was like Friday, I think.
Yeah.
Somewhere along there. Anyway, so in my Facebook memories, it comes up that we did a live show with our friend Tom Rice the day of night one of WrestleMania 38 in Dallas. And we were talking about Edge versus AJ Styles. It hadn't happened yet. Okay, so we're talking about it. I'm like, oh, I can't wait to hear what we say about this. We said, and I quote, Edge and AJ Styles won't steal the show. They are the show of night two. Exact quote. So, to your point.
I have no recollection of this quote. I take my words back.
to your point, AJ doesn't always have the best track record of WrestleMania, and I'm not sure why.
And what's crazy is the matches that you expect to be, for lack of a better phrase, phenomenal, would be, AJ versus Shinsuke at WrestleMania. Did not live up to the hype, was not that good. AJ versus Edge did not live up to the hype, was not that good. But then you get like AJ versus LA Knight last year, where people are like, yeah, but LA Knight's not that great in the ring. It was an awesome match. The one I always go back to is there's no reason why AJ versus Shane McMahon should be as good as it is.
But
if you go back and watch that match rules. That match is awesome. It makes no sense. So that's what makes me nervous about this a little bit, is because Logan is good, but it's AJ Styles. So I'm always going to give him, he could have 100 bad matches, and I'm still going to give him the benefit of the doubt because he's AJ Styles.
That's true. Yep. 100%. Speaking of LA Knight, the U.S. Championship apparently is on the line in a singles match against Jacob Fatu. Not where I thought this one was going to go. Kind of a weird first WrestleMania match for Jacob Fatu. Andy, what say you?
I don't think this is going to be the official match. I think we're going to get some people added because WrestleMania 41 is the multi-man WrestleMania, where we're just getting multi-man matches all over the place.
Yep. Gotta get everybody on the card.
Do what?
Gotta get everybody on the card.
Yeah. But I think it's going to end well for everybody involved. I'm not going to give my prediction away, but especially Jacob Fatu. I think the night's going to end pretty well for him.
All right. Speaking of WrestleMania matches that were confirmed last week on SmackDown, seemingly one was taken off the table. And that is Kevin Owens versus Randy Orton, because we got the unfortunate news that Kevin Owens has a major neck injury and has been dealing with it since January and is going to be out for an indefinite amount of time, has to have surgery. Andy, this is a wild shakeup this close to WrestleMania.
Yeah, this really sucks.
Yeah.
I really hate it for Kevin because I feel like this is the best version of Kevin Owens we've had in a long time.
Agreed.
Yep. And I think this is the old NXT version of Kevin Owens that just is out to get everybody and go after everybody. And I was really this is one of the matches that I was really looking forward to was Randy and Kevin. I'm glad they figured out what was going on. I have a hard, I know I've listened to his interview post this and how he said it was just normal moves 4 months ago, but I don't how do you go through what he went through at the Rumble and make it through that match just fine with a neck injury?
Yep.
The dude is just a different animal. I hope we get him back sooner rather than later. I hope he heals up well, but this one, out of all the WrestleMania matches that we've kind of had canceled for injury or whatever, this one stings probably the most in recent memory.
I have to bring up the other side of this. I have to play devil's advocate. If there is any superstar or any match that would use this as an angle, it would be this one. Now, I feel terrible in saying that. Let me preface this by saying I feel terrible in saying that. But could you imagine the diabolical heel that Kevin Owens would be if this was just an angle? I feel like I have to bring it up.
Yeah, I've thought about that too. I mean, the whole time Friday night, I was just waiting for him to attack Randy at some point.
Yep.
But that obviously that never happened. I think if it was any other injury, I could really believe it. I think the neck injury part makes it. It would be a bad look for everybody. I mean, especially with what they just went through with Big E and Daniel Bryan and Edge and everything else. I don't think it'd be a good look if they went through the same thing with Kevin Owens and they just played it all. Like they said, he had a really bad, severe neck injury and then used it as a storyline.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I agree. Trust me. I agree. I feel terrible in saying that.
But you have to bring it up.
The whole time I'm sitting there thinking, oh my God, this would be just genius if this was, because normally, like you said, if they're doing this injury angle, normally the attack happens right away and boom, we don't even have to think about it. And it is what it is. But dude, if you carry this on, we got 2 SmackDowns before WrestleMania. If you carry this on until the night before WrestleMania and then boom, KO drops him and having said that though, seemingly we're going to get a replacement for Randy Orton. In a perfect world, it's Nick Aldis. Okay, let's just be honest. In a perfect world, it's Nick Aldis. But I've been thinking about that, Andy. The problem that I have with that is that is a gutsy move by WWE to put Nick Aldis in that spot in his first, not just WrestleMania match, his first WWE match, his first match since, what did he do? Had a bicep injury or a pec injury or something. Something that he had to have some major surgery on and has been out for a long time anyway. So his first match in probably a year plus.
Longer than that, probably.
At WrestleMania against Randy Orton in front of a crowd, let's be honest, Andy, who the majority of them don't know Nick Aldis as a wrestler. They don't know. I know WrestleMania crowds are a little smarter, but I still... They still don't know what he can do because they just don't know. That's not their fault. They just don't know. I just think Aldis is probably the right guy. It's just, can they sell it and can they get us there?
I mean, they don't have to sell me. I just throw him in the match and I'm sold. But
Squared Circle Radio is sold on this match, no doubt about it.
But I agree. Like, I think there's a great portion of the crowd that would not realize that Nick Aldis has this massive lineage in professional wrestling as like one of the best. To be one of the best in the NWA of all time is not the easiest thing to do. And Nick Aldis, to me, is one of the greatest in NWA history. So just the prospect of him and Randy Orton entering together at WrestleMania is perfect. But I agree. I think there's a great portion of the crowd that wouldn't know him. But again, if you're going to introduce somebody and make a name, debut at WrestleMania against Randy Orton and potentially beat him, he's a made man right there if he does that.
Any chance you think they rushed the Malachi Black debut a week earlier, put him on the show?
Honestly, like, after this went down, I thought of 3 potential solutions.
Okay. I just gave you 2. Who's the third?
Yeah. I thought of Aleister Black. Obviously, Aldis was one of them. I think Rusev is an option.
Okay.
Because he just resigned. I think if that music hit and Rusev walked out, I think the place would go crazy because it's Rusev.
Sure.
But the other one, I don't know if you could do it. If you could find a way, maybe not in like wrestling in it, but if you could find a way to insert him in Cody and Cena. Maybe like special guest referee or, enforcer or whatever the case is. I think that would be really interesting, especially if like The Rock gets involved and is in like Cena's corner, then Randy can get in Cody's corner and be in his corner. But if it is Aleister Black, really, if it's anybody that brings in, to me, they have to beat Randy at WrestleMania. So you have to figure out who you want to have that win over Randy.
The only one that could lose is Nick Aldis. I think you can have Aldis lose and it's fine, especially if it's just a one-off with Aldis.
Yeah, I agree.
Bryce in the comments, he's going to fight Aleister Black. Oh, that's honestly my first choice. Aldis is the safe choice. Aleister is my first choice. Like, it would be very easy to just rush that debut up one week and listen, Andy, have him squash Randy. I don't care.
Have him do what he did to Cody.
Yes.
Do that. That would be great. I would love it if they did that. Like, they brought it up. Another one that he just debuted and we didn't, he could be a potential Randy Orton versus Rey Fenix at WrestleMania. I think Rey is another guy that, since he's debuted, if you had Randy beat him at WrestleMania, I don't think it would take away from Rey. So, like, if you want Randy to win at WrestleMania, I think it needs to be Nick Aldis, Rey Fenix, or like a Trick Williams or something like that from NXT.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're bringing in a Rusev or an Aleister Black, then I think they have to be the ones to go over.
Yep, I agree with you for sure. All right,
I want to get your. What percentage do you give Shane McMahon?
Oh, that one's interesting. The
whole board meeting with Tony Khan never happened. It never happened.
Really?
In Shane's mind, probably now.
Well, that's true. Yes. Well, AEW and WWE are continuing to be at war. We don't know who's going to induct Lex Luger into the Hall of Fame. That hasn't been confirmed yet. So, just fire another shot by. Oh, you won't let us have Sting? All right, we'll just shove Shane McMahon down your throat then.
We don't want Shane, though. We don't want Shane.
Listen, that a part of you, if that music hits, a part of you is going to be excited. A part. I didn't say how big of a part. I just said a part of you is going to be excited.
Yeah, to see if he blows his quad in 2 seconds again.
Well, that also may happen, but it's against Randy Orton, so we're going to mat wrestle and we're going to rest hold and
rest holds. Rest holds. Yes, there we go.
I think he's going to be fine. I think he's going to be fine. All right, let's move on to the other major thing that happened on SmackDown, and I really don't have a lot of thoughts when it comes to Charlotte and Tiffany and their promo. I've got like one overarching thought, but Andy, I know you have a lot of thoughts here, so I'm going to let you cook on this for a minute. What did you take away from this?
So before I begin, I'm just going to say a quick apology to Billy Belcher. I know he's probably going to write me off and come after me or whatever, and that's fine.
Oh, that's good.
My my biggest takeaway is a question from this, and that is, what has happened to Charlotte Flair?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what has happened to her? She's not always been my favorite. I think she's been pushed. We talk about the John Cena push and the Roman Reigns push. Charlotte Flair is right up there with them.
Yep.
Of getting big moments that she doesn't need or deserve.
Yep.
But what happened Friday night was it was worse than the Becky situation with the title.
Yeah, it was. Yep, it was.
And out of everything else, after everything that happened, how is it that the person that has been there the least will look the most professional out of all of them? Like, I get it. Tiffany said some things and she cut a promo. If we flipped, we looked at any other side of this. If anybody else had gone that personal, we would be ranting and if Punk had said something like this,
sure,
or if Cody had said something like this, then we would be talking about how great of a promo it was, how personal they got, and everything else. I don't have a problem with what Tiffany said. I think what Tiffany, obviously you're trying to build this WrestleMania match. Tiffany has been built this whole time to look, in my opinion, to look extremely weak. Against Charlotte Flair.
Yep.
And what happened Friday night is, I think Charlotte showed everybody, one, I can't believe the crowd got to her as bad as they got. Like, they completely shut her down. But then two, like, to get that mad about what Tiffany said after some of the stuff she said to some other people, and then to do the thing that set me off was the high pitch trying to mock Tiffany. Yeah. I wanted to throw something through the TV. And then Tiffany said whatever she said at the end, rolled out of the ring, and then she tried to drop the Ludwig Kaiser in the DMs line. And it was just like, at that point, this whole segment has gone off the rails.
Yep.
In my opinion, there's no way Charlotte should win this at all now. Because if she wins it, then it's a horrible look on Tiffany and everybody else involved. This made me realize that I think time has passed Charlotte Flair in some ways. And she should no longer be in that top main event level, at least for a while, until she gets some things figured out.
Yeah. City Kitty in the chat, thank you for this comment. Charlotte is unrecognizable. I tend to agree with that. But Andy, like a lot of people are speculating. Of course, you have the Dave Meltzers of the world who says, "Oh yeah, they've been having problems backstage for 2 weeks, and they can't stand each other, and blah 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 blah." And if this was Tony Khan, people would tell him, "You got to get your house together." Just nonsense. But anyway, a lot of other people online are speculating that this was planned to go this way, like it was supposed to look this raw, and it was supposed to look like it was uncomfortable, and it was because of the way that the last interview that they had was portrayed, where they were in the 2 boxes or whatever, the way that was, so that it was made to give Tiffany the upper hand, and that it was just done that way. Now, here's what I'll say. Planned or unplanned, this match, pardon the pun, this match needed some flair, and we got it. We're talking about it now. We weren't talking about it before. So planned or unplanned, we're talking about it. And here's my biggest takeaway. And my dad can just throw both of us on the bad end. But I'm going to sort of even the playing field here. Honestly, I don't think either one of them are very good on the mic. I really don't. So to put them in this situation and then to have them either go off script for real or try to go off script or whatever. I just felt like it didn't go over well because in my opinion, they're not that good.
Yeah. I mean, Charlotte's had moments on the mic where she's been good.
Yep.
And I think there've been moments, especially in NXT, where Tiffany had moments where she looked good. The way it came off is the same way it came off with the whole Charlotte situation. I mean, with the whole Becky situation.
Yep.
Because it seemed like when Tiffany started to get the upper hand on Charlotte, she just completely shut down because nobody can have the upper hand on Charlotte. Nobody can look better than Charlotte. Charlotte has to be the top of the top. And I get that's part of her character, but that's she's Ric Flair's daughter, and Flair was the exact same way. let's be real honest. And so the apple doesn't really fall far from the tree in this situation. And I have a hard time believing that this was
politely pointed that out to her. She just politely pointed it out.
Yeah. But I have a hard time believing that this was planned this way, because obviously, if neither one of them have gone shoot before or gone off script or whatever, and then they started doing this, you knew it was a disaster. So why would you make it look as bad as it was? When this match, when we first got that we were getting Charlotte and Tiffany, I was pretty excited for this. The last couple of weeks, I don't care about this match anymore.
Right.
I do not care about this match at WrestleMania anymore, which is bad. I hate it because I think Tiffany is a potential future star and should be. But the more Charlotte gets involved with some of these things, the worse they become.
Agreed. The To Me troll back in the chat. Has anyone suggested that Charlotte has an addiction problem or an eating disorder? I haven't heard anything. I'm just curious. Previous comments talking about how she's unrecognizable. Even Bryce chiming in saying she looks horrible now. I don't know if it's some sort of health problem or if she's had too many injections in her face or something, or I don't know. If you look throughout her career, and Andy, I don't want to sit and, body shame anybody or what have you, but if you look at her throughout her career, she has certainly had quite the transformation from when she was in NXT to where she is now. Lots of steps in between. So I certainly don't want to body shame her because clearly she's in better physical condition than I will ever be. So, she, to the point of all of those comments and exactly what you said about how she shouldn't be in the main event picture, she is definitely not the performer that she has been previously. And something needs to, I don't know, you got to get it together in some way. I don't know what that is. I don't know if, this injury where she thought she was never going to wrestle again really took a toll on her I know she's talked about it, how it took a toll on her mentally, but she's not over that. Like she's trying to overcorrect, maybe. I don't know. We've only seen her in the ring once or twice since she's been back. So I couldn't really tell you, but I don't know. I'm like you. I was excited about this. Now I'm not so sure.
Yeah. And, obviously she's like the last couple of weeks or the last week she did a interview where she opened up about having some mental health struggles and everything else. And I completely get that. And I empathize with her because I know that can be like a dark place to get to at times. And obviously going through the divorce with Andrade, and she's talked about that and how she doesn't want to be compared to her dad in that way and everything else. I get that. And Tiffany brought that up. It's a whole thing.
Yep.
But one, if you have a problem with that, you should probably tell the person that you're cutting a promo with, hey, you can bring up anything, but this is the one thing,
yep,
that'll make me go CM Punk on you and just go off. Like I'll go shoot on you if I have to. Like that's one way. But I feel bad for Charlotte in a way because I don't think she's in it right now. Like I think she kind of is out of it and wants to be somewhere else, and I get that. But just what happened on Friday is not a good look on her, not a good look on Tiffany, not a good look on WWE. And if we can avoid that situation any way possible, we need to.
Yep. I completely agree. Again, I hope we got 2 SmackDowns left before WrestleMania. I hope they can turn it around. I hope they can redeem themselves a little bit next week. Because Andy, I mean, shoot, Tiffany dove off of the entranceway 3 weeks ago, and we didn't even bring it up. You know, so it's like, I hope that they can sort of turn this around, and I hope that they can save this match because athletically, these are probably the 2 best women on the roster.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody can hang with them athletically. So, besides Bianca Belair. So, to put these 2 in a match together should be really, really good. I just hope it doesn't get ruined for the sake of whatever drama may or may not be going on between. I don't know. All right. One more segment to get to before we wrap up. Appreciate you guys being with us. We like to look back at previous WrestleMania things during WrestleMania season, obviously. And tonight's topic as we wrap up is the most shocking WrestleMania moments. We're going to do our best to at least narrow it down to what number 1 is. So, Andy, when we say most shocking moments, that could be a match result. That could be a return. Could be a debut. It could be a what have you. So when I say most shocking WrestleMania moments, what comes to mind?
The first thing that came to mind was, and we've kind of talked about it before, but WrestleMania 33, when the Hardys returned and that music hit and they came out. I mean, just the chills that I got every time I go back and watch it, even though I know it's going to happen, I still get chills every single time, which is a great moment. So that has to be at least mentioned, in my opinion.
Yes, I agree. And I think one that needs to be mentioned as well that maybe doesn't have the legs because of what happened afterwards, but the moment in itself when Steve Austin aligned with Vince McMahon at the end of WrestleMania 17. I mean, you talk about shocking. I mean, this was the feud that made the Attitude Era, and then you have these 2 guys on the same side to end the night. Now we know that Austin's heel run didn't pan out as good as they wanted it to, or what have you, but that moment in itself, Andy, is legendary. Yep. What else do you think?
Well, shocking is not always a good thing.
True.
As well. And one that comes to mind is one that I was very vocal about on this podcast a couple years ago, and that was WrestleMania 39 when Cody Rhodes lost to Roman Reigns and Roman retained his title at WrestleMania 39. That was very shocking because I thought that was it. I thought we were, Cody had it won.
Yep.
And so that to me is on this list.
Speaking of Cody Rhodes, on this list also is, of course, the shocking return, even though we all kind of knew it was going to happen. The shocking return at WrestleMania 38, which you and I were in the building for. And Andy nearly passed out on me, but it's okay because Cody Rhodes' shocking return at WrestleMania 38, definitely, if you're making a shocking moment list, deserves to be on there. Bryce, in the comments, the streak ending at WrestleMania 30 on the list of most shocking moments. I mean, it's not too many more moments that are more shocking than that happening. Andy, any more that you throw out when we say most shocking Mania moments?
I mean, I think the Sheamus beating Daniel Bryan in 18 seconds is on this list. I think that one was, again, shocking for not a great reason. And then two more like that are selfish for me. Which I don't even know if we would consider shocking, but it was shocking to me when I saw it was WrestleMania 38 again, when Austin took the suplex on the concrete floor. To me, that was one where I was like, what in the world is going on? And everything in that match that could have happened, I wasn't expecting that. And then I think a shocking moment and one of the best moments in WrestleMania history was the super kick into the pedigree kick out. From Taker and Triple H. That again, like the Hardys, I know he kicks out, and I still every time bite on it because it's so good.
All right, that's a me troll saying not one WrestleMania 17 match have I watched, and I even watched WrestleMania 9. Speaking of, the WrestleMania 9 ending is pretty shocking to me, Andy. Honestly, Hulk Hogan finding his way into the main event, a match that he did not belong in any way, shape, or form. Poor Bret Hart getting screwed out of that. Sean and Razor, amazing and historical. Bryce says in the comments, yes, it was.
I mean, I'll give a shout out to Johnny Knoxville and Sami Zayn because that match was shockingly good for no reason.
Yes, it was. You and I thoroughly enjoyed ourselves watching that match. All right, Andy, if you have to narrow it down to one, and I'll even give you like a top three if you feel like you can't narrow it down to just one. I've got mine narrowed down to one. There's a couple moments that we haven't even mentioned yet that I know are boiling in your brain. So if you can narrow it down to one, great. Give me like two or three that fall just short.
I mean, the number one, without a doubt, is the streak ending. Like there's nothing more shocking than that happening. Even though it was a possibility every year, it was still never going to happen in our minds. Like, yeah, he could lose, but he's not going to. Like, it's Taker at WrestleMania. So that one, I think that one is absolutely number one. Listen, I love the Hardys' return. I think that was done perfectly. I think it was done to perfection. It still holds up to this day. Obviously, everything that kind of happened afterwards is very forgettable. But that moment right there is the best of the best. And then if I had to pick a third one, oh man, there's so many good ones. If I had to pick a third one, just because of what it's led to and because we were in the building for it, and even though it's not really a shock, it was still him showing up was not the shock. It was the fact that it was the AEW version of him showing up. Is Cody Rhodes showing up. I think that to me is one of the most shocking moments when you get the intro he's always had, you get the music, you get the pyro, you get the attire, nothing changes, and it works.
Yep.
And so that to me is like that's easily the top three, but nothing. It would be very hard to beat the streak.
Yep. A couple of comments here. Bryce saying HBK retiring. Yes, that was that tugs on the heartstrings for sure. Even though we sort of knew it was happening, it tugs on the heartstrings. City Kitty back in the chat. The Undertaker's streak. Yes, it's hard to go against that. Those were the three that I had, but I'm always got a couple other up my sleeve that I'm willing to go to bat for, and I'm willing to put in the top three. Andy, a shocking WrestleMania moment that I can't believe you haven't mentioned. And I haven't mentioned it either. The heist of the century, Seth Rollins cashing in Money in the Bank in the main event of WrestleMania 31, the first ever WrestleMania cash in. Shocking, because nobody, and I mean nobody, expected Seth Rollins to end WrestleMania 31 as champion. Not Brock Lesnar, not Roman Reigns, but Seth Rollins. That's a shock.
That was the best outcome in a lose-lose situation.
Sure.
Like, it was the best outcome for that match. And yeah, I'll be 100% transparent. Out of everything else I've been talking about, I completely forgot about that moment. There's so many like shocking moments.
Yep.
That's like number 4 on my list would be that. It was done great.
I would put it slightly ahead of Cody just because we knew Cody was coming. And we did not know that Seth was going to cash in.
That's very true. That's fair.
So I would push him just a little bit ahead of Cody. But that's a fun list. We hope you guys will join us next week for WrestleMania week. Again, if you're not subscribed to the channel, please do it. The button is right down below the video, and hit the thumbs up button while you're at it. We would appreciate it. So next week, big week, Andy, we are going to, oh my goodness, we're going to have our regular show next week. All right. We are going to have, as I stated earlier, we're going to do predictions for both night 1 and night 2. Those will be dropped on separate days next week. We're going to, Jared Justice is going to join us for all that. We're going to do a Hall of Fame show where we break down all the Hall of Fame inductees, might even play a little game. Andy pitched this to me a long time ago about asking if guys should or should not be in the Hall of Fame. I think that's perfect for this show. So we're going to do that. We are also, Bryce is going to dig this in the chat. Bryce doesn't know this is coming, but he's going to dig this. We are going to have a good old-fashioned debate. I think there is a long-standing debate in the world of wrestling about who truly is Mr. WrestleMania. So next week, the 3 of us are going to get on this show and we're going to pit Shawn Michaels versus The Undertaker. Who is truly Mr. WrestleMania? We're going to have fun with that. And of course, after WrestleMania night 1 and night 2, we're going to be live right here. Immediate reaction, answering your questions, taking your comments. Andy, WrestleMania week is a busy week, but it is the best week of the year.
This is our Super Bowl week. This is our Christmas week. This is everything we want. Yeah, I'm pumped for it. I'm ready for it. It's going to be a wonderful, wonderful week. Again, make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you have the bell clicked so that you get notified when these videos drop, because you do not want to miss them. It's always, you never know what you're going to get when it's Chris and me or when it's Chris and Jared, but when you put the 3 of us together, it literally could just end up anywhere. So,
I was thinking about this the other day. I called you my tag team partner as we entered the show, and I called Jared my tag team partner, my brother from another mother. It's like we're we have the Freebird rule of the tag team championship. You just never know what lethal combination that you're going to get, because the 2 of us together is pretty bad. But you put the 3 of us together, it's chaos. It's truly chaos. So I'm pumped. It's going to be awesome. Can't wait. Again, like Andy said, hit the subscribe button, hit the notifications bell so that you don't miss a thing next week. All right. Like, subscribe, follow us if you're listening on podcast. If you're listening to us on SportsWire Radio or WSN, thank you so much. Keep it locked in right here to all the other great content. For Mr. Andy York, my name is Chris Belcher. This has been yet another edition of Squared Circle Radio. We will catch you guys next week for WrestleMania.